The Maharal asks a question in Ner Mitzvah, that is the Maharal's discussion of Hannukah, and I would like to acknowledge my dear friend Yaakov Wolf's fantastic article on this topic that he just published on Torah Musings. Maharal asks, why is it that we celebrate the nace of the Pach Shemen, when presumably it would seem that the nace of winning the war was much more significant? When a person is at war and is under threat of annihilation, so the fact that he wins that war, he's saved, not only saves from the threat, but if victorious in the war and completely removes the threat, that is a significant cause of celebration and a significant event that should warrant praise and gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Whereas the Nes Pach Shemen is of minimal significance, particularly because of the halacha that Tumah Hutra B'tzibur, and even had they not been able to light from this Shemen Tahor, then the Kohanim could have lit from Shemen Tameh and been Yotzei the mitzvah just that way. So Maharal gives two answers. The first one we're not going to focus on. The first one is that Chazal wanted to make the Beis HaMikdash the focus, to recognize the importance of the Beis HaMikdash as the crux of the spiritual battle between Yavan and Klal Yisrael. The Maharal's second answer, though, is that we are correct. The real celebration, the Iker Nes that we really need to celebrate and express gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for, is the Nitzachon Milchama. That for sure is the Iker Nes. However, without the Nes Pach Shemen, it would have been very difficult to recognize God's hand in the military victory. Military victories are a combination. They're a combination of human intelligence, human strategy, human might, and divine assistance. It's hard for us as human beings to recognize where the Siyata D'Shmaya comes in. The Nes Pach Shemen, which was completely supernatural, comes and demonstrates to us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hand was guiding us the whole time. The entire struggle against the Yevanim, the fact that it concludes with a supernatural nes, a supernatural expression of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's involvement, is meant to demonstrate to us that the whole time HaKadosh Baruch Hu was assisting us and leading us to victory. And that is why we find that in some ways we highlight the Nes Pach Shemen. For example, obviously the mitzvah Hallel itself and Haner Talalu. And in some places we find that we specifically highlight the Nes of the Milchama, such as in Al Hanisim. Al Hanisim doesn't mention the Nes Pach Shemen. It focuses almost exclusively on the war. It mentions the Beis HaMikdash, the rededication of the Beis HaMikdash at the end, but the main nes that it refers to is the nes of the victory over the Yevanim. This perspective that it is so crucial but so difficult to recognize God's hand in our matters, especially things like war, is obviously particularly relevant today, over the past year and a half. It's so crucial and yet so difficult to recognize that our efforts are so necessary. Our hishtadlus, our strategy, our intelligence, our fight, our warfare is all crucial, and at the same time, we have to recognize the siyata d'shmaya, that our continued existence and success here in Eretz Yisrael, fighting Milchamos Yisrael, is completely dependent on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This idea that we just mentioned is remarkably meduyik in the lashon of the Rambam. The Rambam in Hilchos Hannukah, when he introduces the history behind the Nes of Hannukah, the Rambam describes how the Greeks made our lives so difficult. They issued decrees of religious persecution, decrees against religious practice, decrees enforcing the right of the Greeks to take our money, to take women. And then the Rambam says that the Greek persecution continued until the God of our fathers had compassion on us and saved us from their hands. So who is the actor who saved us from the Greeks? God. He saved us from them. But then the Rambam continues, and we were saved by the Bnei Chashmonai. Gavru Bnei Chashmonai, HaKohanim HaGdolim, V'Aragum, V'Hoshi'u Yisrael Miyadam. The Chashmonaim, they killed the Greeks, and they saved Yisrael Miyadam. So who did it? Was it God or was it the Chashmonaim? Is it El Kev Hosenu Hoshi'im Miyadam, or B'nei Chashmoneh Kohanim Agdolim Hoshi'u Yisrael Miyadam? And the answer, of course, is both. But the Rambam's dual formulation is meant to emphasize this exact point that the Maharal brings out. That the Nes of Hannukah and our celebration of the Nes of Hannukah is dafka meant to imprint in our minds that, yes, there was an incredible war, and we were successful in the war beyond all expectations. And that success is due to human initiative, and the success of that human initiative is due to divine assistance. And that is what the Rambam emphasizes. That is what we are meant to recognize. When we light our Ner Hannukah, we're not supposed to just recall that there was a Ner in the Beis Hamikdash that lasted 8 days when it only should have lasted for 1 day. We're meant to recall that our success and our human initiatives, despite the fact that those human initiatives require tremendous effort, and we must invest in that effort, our success really and truly depends on HaKadosh Baruch Hu's assistance. One more place where this might be mentioned in the Rambam is at the end of Hilchos Hannukah. In Perek Dal Halacha Yud Beis, the Rambam concludes, almost concludes, the third to last halacha of Hilchos Hannukah. He says, Mitzvahs Ner Hannukah, mitzvah chavivahi ad me'od. The mitzvah of Ner Hannukah is a very precious mitzvah, it's a very beloved mitzvah. V'tzarech adam lizar ba, a person needs to be extremely careful with it. The Rambam continues and says the nafkamina of this extreme care is that one must even sell the shirt off his back in order to purchase Neiros Hannukah. But before the Rambam says that, he says, what must the person be careful to do? Kedei lehodia hanes, in order to make known the miracle, singular miracle, ulahosif b'shevach hakel v'hodaya lo, and to increase in the praise and gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, al hanisem she'asa lanu, for the miracles that He did for us. We see the Rambam transitions from singular to plural, that the Rambam perhaps is alluding to the point we just made. The mitzvah of Ner Hannukah is a precious mitzvah. The mitzvah of Ner Hannukah narrowly is focused on the nes, or the particular nes of the Pach Shemen, the supernatural nes, that one little Pach Shemen lasted for 8 days. And we must be extremely careful with that mitzvah and ensure that we do that mitzvah, even if it means going into debt. But the goal of doing that mitzvah is not only to make known that particular nes, but to be mosif, to increase our praise and our gratitude to Kodesh Baruch Hu for all the nisim He does for us. We could expand that to all the nisim He does for us as individuals, as communities, as a nation, but most particularly, what I think the Rambam is referring to, is the nisim of the war, right? The plural. The Rambam is saying that we have to be extremely careful with the mitzvah of Ner Hannukah, because through our meticulous observance of Hadlakas Haneros, we come to recognize God's hand not only in the strictly supernatural events in this world, but even those natural-looking events that are guided by His compassionate hand. Have a wonderful Hannukah.